call the meeting to order. Sorry.
I twitched away. Autopilot. Yeah. No, we don't need a motion.
Just we're really well trained, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
I actually had to look at the agenda to see if that was next.
Okay, good. I feel better.
No, I think we're all on the same page there. So we have one item on the agenda tonight, report on the facility use. Assuming that's you, Jeff.
Yep. And as he's coming up, just to remind everybody for context, last time we kind of talked about future school sites, buildings, and so this is kind of the second half of that conversation with future needs, a few parcels where we may want to begin visioning some things to solve a few things that we're getting now with program expansion. This is like part 2.
I'll try my best. So I'm looking for all kinds of questions, and because we'll go through this fairly quickly if not. So we'll get started here. What we're going to talk about today is Career Technical Education Academy, Community Campus Program, and then potential future sites. So those are the 3 topics, and we're going to start with CTE. As most everyone knows, we started the ag program out there. We're currently working on options for temporary options for both plant growing and animal portions of the project. We're working with the city and what's available, what we can do and what we can't do. And just know that the temporary solutions will not be a permanent solution. We need to be thinking of a permanent solution as we move forward and see how this program evolves and materializes. So we've had some discussions on permanent solutions, and through that, the carpentry program actually said they would like to join in with this this solution, and they'd like to see their facility expanded with some additional storage and restrooms out there at the house building program, so we don't have kids moving in and out all the time. So apparently that's becoming more of a norm then, and so I think we could make their program more efficient, and if we tie it all together, that's one of the options that we have. Turn this off, I can hear it beep. So that's part of it, and then there's some other options out there with that. So potential options: develop an ag carpentry area with the greenhouse, animal areas. I think we have enough room, haven't studied enough to scale. If we don't, we may have to, Southeast has a portion where that hill drops that we could carve out a little section if that's needed. Develop a standalone area with greenhouse and animal area out there. A lot of potential area around there that we could do that off-site, but we also have to pay attention that we're not encroaching on future areas for shop if the auto grows or something is at the building, because we have 2 wings that we master plan growth onto CTE when we did the original design. And then a third option would be study off-site options, whether it's a fairgrounds or where we could house something, but there's a big impact, and some of the concerns is how do we transport kids, how do they go, how do they do classes and back and forth. So those are some of the concerns that been voiced. So with that, I've got a couple slides that will show some locations on site. This is the complex now. If you look at the white up in that top right corner where it's X'd out, that you would have potential to expand the restrooms complex for storage for both programs. Greenhouses would follow to the south. I've looked at sun angles. It looks like it could work really well there. And then we could actually do some outside animal things to the east. One good thing here is we're our own neighbors, so Southeast kind of encompasses this, so we don't have a lot of neighbors that we would disrupt when we're planning this. So another option would be is to potentially tie it into the south portion of it. If you look at the block on the main building, that's designed to come out. So eventually this would tie into that existing addition if it ever grew to levels that we need an addition for auto or whatever. So that's another potential. You could actually, we own, you see where that street is and that cul-de-sac, we actually own that whole portion all the way to Madison. So it could go anywhere. Right now, the utilities are right in this location, so this works. If we went up to the north, we'd have to extend the sewer up to that corner to do restrooms through. The sewer doesn't extend out to that far. But it's capable. I think the slope is there. It's not that significant. The water actually loops all the way back there. So those are kind of some of the options that we have for that ag building. So, any questions?
Do we own the property to the west?
Yes,
That's,
that is a district property. That's
okay. And how about that little island before the road that goes on
Yep.
the southeast? So that's all. Is that kind of all of our footprint
Yep,
there?
that whole footprint is ours. That to the east is southeast. It kind of triangulars that section. It kind of the road is actually the property line splits in that top service road, and then it goes straight. Then it comes down. So there's some land there that we own. It's kind of a triangular piece that comes where that building is.
And speaking about Southeast with their like landscape programming and vet tech programming, is there some possibility of sharing some of maybe with the ag classes type things like that with them or?
Yep.
There is, on this, I think it's where the 4 cars are parked. Is that the storage area that they've cleaned out kind of in there where our first animal things are gonna go? Is that little alcove that kind of goes out there?
Yeah, we're working on a cold storage area. We're going to put a little heater in there.
It's going to be warm.
And we're going to put
Yeah.
some exhaust fans, and it's really separated, so the precast goes all the way. It's really isolated, and it's going to be a somewhat temporary. It's going to be, then we'll have to just make sure the manure and things get pumped out on a
So
daily.
they're starting. I was just out there today, and we have a great classroom full of students. They have a plan for kind of the beginnings of the aquaponics plants and then the animal husbandry with both small and large. But Josh was saying it's actually a little tougher to get permission to do small animals than large animals because of some sign-offs you have to do. But I think there's some sharing with Southeast potentially with coursework, but I think for the maintenance and the ongoing care of actual live animals, we'll want that to be on site. And then there's also some future visioning happening right now if we go down a pathway for precision ag, if we want to use any of our grounds for small field plots or, study of crops and irrigation and those kinds of things. So I think we're going to probably want to have most of our things centered here. If we get into some of those higher level courses, there may be some crossover with dual credit and some things that they can walk down the street and take them there. So I think it's too early to know, but I think those are the courses that would eventually cross over to those higher level ones.
And I was thinking more even facilities too, not just
Yeah.
coursework. But facilities.
Yeah, and they may be able to, partner with us for some things that are beneficial to them. I think the veterinarian courses would be a really close match and something that they're already talking about with the care of the live animals and, having access to some right down the road. So it could be really cool. Yeah, it's exciting.
I think it's evolving as I'm glad we haven't just jumped in, that it's going to evolve. And I think they're thinking as they develop this curriculum and program that they're going to see some needs that they want and what to develop as we design this.
It's nice to have the
put some
space.
effort into it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're working on what they can do, and we're looking at a temporary little hut. I mean, it's amazing what I've learned on temporary things with the city through this period. So we're working together, and I think everybody's working for the betterment of that program. So it's exciting, and there's plenty of space out there to accomplish anything that we can dream of, really.
Maybe the construction students could build their own building.
Barn.
Yes, except for they've got 2 massive houses in the works, one that's bigger than any that they've done before. So I think they could be part of it. I think there's always the need as they're working on those big projects, they have some other things that they go and work on. One of them's a big playhouse that's out there right now, but they're already thinking about those cross-pollinating programs. So I think if there's possibility, they will. And the proximity is just unreal. I mean, it can't get any better than this. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to community campus. This program is currently housed at 2 locations in the Western Mall. That's their primary location. They've been there quite some time. And then we've expanded in Axtell Park the last 2 years. I would like to consolidate the program to 1 central location. There's some logistics of operating out of 2 spots. And I'm going to turn it over to Chrissy to really give us a lowdown of the whole program. And people are working now thinking of what they need and what their future will bring, and it's starting to put the program together. And we have a meeting Thursday that I'll be joining them in some of those discussions. So right now we just kind of plop in a square where we use a square foot, that's about double of what they have now, and not knowing what's in that square. So we're still in that learning process. So I'll turn it over and give it to you. All right.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. So our transition program, thank you, is for our young adults that are ages 18 to 21 primarily. So these are students that still qualify for special education. And so what we are looking for is, again, a way to consolidate all of our programs under one roof so that we can continue with the fine programming that's happening. So we have right now 19 staff. We have 54 young adults who are with us right now. And of course, we need a higher staffing ratio because our kids are going all over the community, out into job sites and getting that job experience. We currently have 4 students that are at Lifescape Pathways that we would again hope to be able to bring in-house if we had the appropriate facilities to be able to do that. So bringing kids back into our school district. We have 3 students that are participating in a Strive program, which is a partnership with the community college. So that's been exciting. And then we of course have our Project Search students as well. So that's where we're at currently. And again, the goal would be able to have that program in one location so we could differentiate different levels of programming based on the needs of kids. So questions?
What types of facilities outside of a typical classroom do we currently have at either the community campus or at the Axtell Park?
Sure, great question. I think probably one of the main focal areas would be a kitchen area. So looking at kitchen and then looking at having laundry facilities and a potential apartment so we could teach some of those life skills, job skills. But otherwise, we have kids that are out. I was at Axtell Park yesterday and they discovered a new job that the kids could take care of in-house. Through washing some of the linens after the lunch program, as an example. So they're finding opportunities where they're at, but the key facilities are going to be those life skill preparation places.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you talk just about the reality kind of right now of feeling the pinch where they are and what some of the challenges are?
Yep, absolutely. So we really are in a tight space. We're really grateful for Axtell Park. That's been a wonderful location, and also the Western Mall location. We just proximity-wise at Axtell Park, we have students that are in wheelchairs and students that need to move because of their needs of their disability, and it's just proximity is difficult, it's challenging. We also are trying to navigate spaces in Axtell Park, so we have other students that are moving about the building. So we're trying to, coordinate with that and different levels of need, of course, from all of our students. So just transition-wise as well, in the building, we have kids that in order to get to the library, it just takes time to move students. Restroom facilities are not in close proximity, so when it takes 2 adults to move with a student to be able to help them with their daily needs, that just causes some challenges there. We also are having to transport kids back and forth between community campus and Axtell Park in order to meet their programming needs as well. So it just creates some logistical challenges. But again, we have an amazing team. They're making do with what we have. But our goal would be able to, expand on that and have those under one roof.
Excuse me, I didn't mean it.
Sure. No.
So could we put them in Axtell Park if we changed some of the physical features of it?
So potentially, that's a great question. I think ideally, if we had a bigger classroom space where we could do a little bit more in regard to grouping kids, it's a different setting when you're working with young adults and they're really focused on some of those job preparation skills. So if we didn't have some of the confines of a smaller classroom, again, to be able to configure the space that we could have a large group of our young adults in that sense, though.
So Jeff, can they run 2 programs like they are now? Square footage wise, if we,
What was that?
well, I don't know the square footage or how much square footage they need, but could the Axtell complex be
Yeah, I mean, it's,
fixed?
you would have to work with them to see what's available. There are some spaces available. It's just the logistics of they're upstairs, downstairs. It's 3 levels. Moving the kids with one small elevator can be a, logistic, nightmare for that. There's some space there. I'm not saying there isn't. That could be a certain part of this study that we look at that facility as well. So, and I think, looking outside of a space or renting a space, just like we're doing now, those are all options open. We have some time. We have a new 3-year lease, so we just want to get in ahead of that and make the right decisions for the program and make sure we're covered for the future as well.
Yeah, the Axtell Park location is also where we have some current programs that may grow, and I think the future of all of these programs is probably going to be growing and not shrinking. And so it's where do we have existing space that we want to commit for the long term so that we don't have to keep shuffling around, particularly a program like this that needs adaptive spaces for training of different kinds, but also where do we want to leave ourselves some wiggle room with some other aspects of programming if we need to expand. And so all of these are kind of available possibilities. And so it's a good question. That's one existing. And so why don't you move to the next slides, because we can look then, because what we also have available are still some parcels that are district owned that are also fair game when we think about where everything could possibly go. So let's take a look at that along with.
Okay, so
Having
some of
that
the
in mind.
options that we've looked at is develop a new facility south of the Instructional Planning Center in that field over here. Develop a new facility on the old Lincoln Elementary site. So that would be also an option. Then study offsite options, facilities available for him, the impact for students and transportation. We have to be, we've looked at, when this lease came up and we re-signed our lease, we looked at several sites. You got to have busing, you got to have transportation. Those are really important needs. And we weren't able to find a site that would be conducive to that. And also some of the warehouses and pieces, you're going to spend as much remodeling those to meet their needs, and then you have a lease on top of that than you would if you built your own place. So we were looking at that. That's why we signed the lease and said, let's give us some time to study this, look at it, and not jump into something that we might regret later. So that's where we're at right now. So with that, we've got a couple of spots. We kind of threw out about a 10,000 square foot block, and that's how it would sit on the site south of here. So it fits nicely. We'd probably put the parking on the north side, where you have that drainage way. We'd probably put the storage of that water under the parking lot and tie it into our existing parking. And then, as you can see, there'd probably be some better circulation around there to the 40th Street. So that, just some of the thinking out loud things Don't know if that's the right size yet or not, but it gives you an idea. There's a little bit of growth and not knowing what the overall site is, so.
And that also, in this location, fits with IPC still being here, knowing that probably some of our special education staff would potentially move into this facility, and then that would buy some time too for the district grows another 3,000, 5,000 kids. 20 years from now, is there still capacity on this site for administrative services to stay here?
And good access for the special ed department to just walk over instead of, so.
Busing.
if
And
needed.
busing, yeah.
The next one will be Lincoln L site. You can see how that same 10,000 square foot would fit on there. You could see the parking would have to be incorporated, but there's plenty of room on that site to do a lot of different things. Program could grow. You could add different programs there. You could develop that further. So that site's a hotly contested site for the community. So, but that's an opportunity as well. So we own that. Right now, the dark square on the left is the community gardens. So.
And I think if, we decide that this is a usable parcel for anything, the school district already owns it, there's still potential to have it be some version of mixed use, some, benefits even to if this was a community campus site, if you had some other things that were beneficial and unique to that program that could be developed, that there's possibilities, but this just gives you scale. I think it's really interesting to look at those two parcels to see what that same footprint looks like, because it looks really tiny on this site, which gives you an idea of the size of that parcel compared to what's over here, and gives you a little bit more scale. But again, just two things that we already own where we could look at more permanent solutions for that program.
Okay, any questions? And there's probably some other options available, like at Axtell Park and that, that field event area and so forth. So a lot of different things to look at. Okay, then the last one is future school sites. We talked about the first one, the site between 26th and 22nd on the Ellis Road, and the last one, I think we had a somewhat close thought. We've been out there with the city parks, and they want to partner with us as well for the site in that location. So I think that's need to move forward with that sometime. And then looked at potential east side elementary school sites if there is a need for that as well. There's very limited land out there, so we'd have to do something fairly quick if we're going to even think of being over there. So there isn't much land in our district on the east side. So if there's anybody out there, we'd certainly be willing to listen to you.
And these are additional to the ones that were promised within the bond amount. These two elementary sites.
Yeah,
are
for
additional.
two elementary sites, just elementary sites. So 10 to 20 acres is what we'd probably look for in the sharing, depending if the park is going to go with us. If we're adjacent to a park, we'd be more towards a 10-acre site. So with that, basically our recommendations is to study the programming needs at the Career Technical Academy, site options and funding for both carpenter and ag programs. I would assume that the carpenter would want to expand even if we located it up in a different location. Then community campus, study the programming needs, which we're currently doing, site options, then funding for the construction and final location of that program, and then the future land acquisition.
And just a reminder to the board, for the ag program right now, we do have some philanthropic dollars that would probably underwrite the facilities that would potentially be built for that program. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're thinking about the big picture of district cost for future acquisitions.
So with that, just any questions that, or any direction you want to send me on, so.
Any other questions for Jeff?
No, just a follow-up to Mark's comment, and I'm glad, Jeff, that nothing's off the table in terms of other buildings that we might be able to repurpose. For example, when Longfellow was sold to Dakota Abilities, they were able to put the elevators and what they needed in there to make that usable for that particular population. And I know Principi's, when they did their expansion, they made use of elevators with a population of people that just stairs were not as friendly. In addition to places like Lifescape, they're somewhat landlocked. They are looking to go up. So in our community, as we just get, more dense, just that and you definitely embrace that thinking outside the box and looking at things that maybe we haven't done in the past or that we did in the past that we know we can change, going forward. So I think Mark brought up a good point of just looking at really all the options, and it's easy sometimes to look at new and building on, but some of those
Sometimes something's going to hit you and go, this makes really good sense. So
Yeah.
that's where we're at. We want to get an idea what their needs are, and then we'll have a better feel for where we need to go.
Yeah, I think an example of that would be Longfellow and what Dakota Abilities was able to
Yep.
do once they bought that for $1. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions, discussion?
So,
Thanks,
thank
Jeff.
you.
Okay.
We have some work to do.
Thank you. All right, we will open it up for public input on facility use. All right, we will close public input on facility use. Seeing that there are anyone that might be listening and not watching, there is nobody in the audience that is wishing to provide public input. So close that. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.